I've said this a lot and I'm gonna say it again. I am probably the only person in the world who believes that June may have liked Poe, but he was in love with Tame, and here's why. Ever since Tame took the blame for them running away to the arcade, June started looking at him differently. I mean, he was the one who still visited the group house because he was closest to Tame and knew he was always alone and assumed he'd just come back or still be there. June wanted to use Mars to further his acting career, but later his dedication to Mars was because of Tame. As a matter of fact, in episode 3, Poe noticed June loved Tame the most and laughed about it. There was also a scene where June was rummaging through Tame's room, and that's where he found the contract that Tame signed paying off all their debts. Because of this, he was rooting for Tame to go to Korea the most because he wanted him to be selfish for once and not have to take care of them all the time. Now, here comes Sweet Poe, who June notices in episode 4 has a crush on Tame. Why would he try to compete with Tame? He was initially competing with Poe and even told him in episode 5 that their long overnight 10-hour phone call was nothing to think about because that's just one night, and he and Tame used to do the same thing every night when they were trainees. Talk about shade. Also, keep in mind that Poe was the one who first started teasing June, and after that, everything June did was to impress Tame by bringing them closer together. So it's not like June just started teasing Poe out of the blue. Tame wanted June to come back to Mars first because he knew June would do anything for him, even though June refused to talk to him and would cause problems and turn them against him, while in the same breath would never allow anyone to hurt him. Oh, but while they were at the camp, June was staring at Poe and smiling. June was staring at Poe because Poe had done it. He had managed to reunite Mars by finally getting the last member, which was convincing Nano that he's never going to be left behind. That was a look of admiration and pride. Poe was staring at Tame, who was also looking at June staring at Poe, and Tame was also looking at Poe. I mean, think about it logically. June is supposedly looking at his crush, looking at another man with love, and smiling about it? That's crazy. In other words, if you have a crush on a guy and you're watching your crush smile at another guy with love, would you smile at that, or would you perhaps feel jealous or frustrated or even mad? Asking for a friend, because make that make sense. I would definitely be sad if my crush isn't smiling at me like that, but June was just looking at that and smiling with admiration. Another example was when June took the blame for Mars reuniting. It wasn't to impress Poe, but to impress Tame, because June does not give two shits, to the point where Poe was asking why he wanted to take the blame. Poe knew June did not like him because everything June was doing was never directed to Poe, but directed to Tame. Even whenever they meet, he would always talk about Tame. If June wanted to get Poe to like him instead of Tame, all his actions wouldn't include taunting Tame. June is the troublemaker and does whatever the fuck he wants, so he could have just flirted directly with Poe the same way he did with Gam, who was in love with Pepper. Tame did everything for Mars, but when it came to love, he was clueless as fuck, so bringing Tame and Poe together was the biggest payback, and June had to be the one to do it. Why? Because he loved and knew him the most. Hell, he even took the credit for Tame finally doing it with Poe in episode 9. And in episode 7, Dylan said June also acted the same way when he saw him getting close to Tame in the beginning. But unlike Dylan, who Tame considered family, Tame fell in love with Poe. They all thought June was acting strange because even though he acted the same way when Dylan was getting close to Tame, they never actually liked each other, unlike Tame and Poe. Plus, there was no way June was letting some new guy get close to his bestie and the person he cares about the most without testing him. He also wasn't going to let Tame be with just anyone. When June sang to Poe, and even when he touched him, there was no reaction whatsoever. Not a waver, because June noticed that Poe's heart was only for Tame. June also knew that Tame was never in love. So when he found out that Tame and Poe actually liked each other, he made it his duty to ensure that Poe was the right person for Tame and Tame was the right person for Poe, because he felt sorry for what Poe went through in the past and knew how much people took advantage of him. A perfect example was when June invited Poe out after the music video, and Poe told him he can't go because he has a date with Tame. Jun wasn't jealous. He was mad as fuck that Tame was taking him to a complimentary movie and decided to scold Tame about it. It wasn't because he wanted Po. He wanted Tame to do better by Po. Well, June liked Po and gave up when he realized Tame and Po liked each other. Really? Because everyone already knew Tame and Po liked each other since episode 5. The only person who didn't know Po liked Tame was Tame. June didn't give up all the way in episode 8 because he thought Tame and Po liked each other. He gave up because he realized Tame was really starting to think he actually liked Po. June Ben knew Po didn't like him. He backed off because he cared for Tame the most and didn't want it to affect their friendship. When he realized Tame was finally ready, he backed away and said that he won even from the beginning because there was really no competition. The person who pushed Tame to express his feelings was June. Tame knew how playful, flirty, and charismatic June was, and June used that charisma to taunt Tame into action. So June taunted and made Tame jealous, and people thought he liked Po. Let me say that again. June taunted and made Tame jealous, and people thought he loved Po. Even Po didn't think June loved Po. Now let's hypothetically reverse the roles, so pay attention. Let's say June was doing all that he was doing to Po to Tame instead, just so that Po notices. Keep in mind, June and Tame know they don't like each other. Who do you think June would be directing his actions towards? Po, right? Because back to reality, June knew Po did not like him, and Po knew June did not like him. This was all about Tame. Yet Tame was still clueless and did not even notice who June really loved. However, I kind of low-key felt that Tame knew June loved him. It took Mars and the entire solar system to get Tame to realize he was actually in love with Po. Now, this can just be a fan theory or just me voicing my opinion, but based on the series and the book, do I think June loved Po? No. Do I think he loved Tame? Yeah, he did. They all did. Shit, at this point, I love him too, but June loved him the most.